2005 Dodge SRT-4. Modifications include AEM cold air intake, modern performance 3-inch turbo back exhaust, including 3-inch oxygen sensor housing, Diablo Sport Predator 93 octane tune, AEM UEGO wideband O2 sensor, Hurst short throw shifter, BC Racing BR Series coilovers with 5K front and 4K rear springs, Hotchkiss sway bars, 2-point rear strut tower brakes, Prothane lower control arm bushings, 17x8 Enkei RPF1 wheels, and 235/40/17 Toyo Proxys R1R tires. The Solo 2 class is DSP, the NASA X class is D.
Okay, so that's our SRT-4. I gotta totally admit and be completely honest, that car was a lot better than I had actually expected. That was a solid car. There was a lot of good things about that car.
I agree. Yep.
Yeah.
Now, Tavis, you own this car, so you've driven it a bit. What did you think coming away from the day?
Oh, I knew what it was going to do. I mean, it's a front-wheel drive car. It pushes.
Yep.
And I had parts store ceramic pads on it, so the brakes were going to fade if we pushed it hard.
And luckily, we'll qualify. I got to go first, so I didn't experience
Yeah,
brake brakes. Ceramic brakes, to me, they seem fantastic.
Right, they do
I'm
all right.
going to use it for the next track day now, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and the funny thing was, I didn't really know, I mean, I guess I think it was one of the later ones to drive the car. I didn't really notice that the brakes were awful. They weren't bad.
Yeah,
I mean,
me neither.
you know, it wasn't awful. It wasn't terrible. For such a powerful front-wheel drive car on street tires, it is solid.
Yeah.
I was just surprised.
It's probably over a lot of people's idea of how much power you can efficiently put down in front of a car.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that.
Speaking of the power, that was something I came away with, like, okay, why? Why do you need this much power?
Yeah, holy.
And not in a bad way, but
that was
amazing power. I did feel it has too much power for me, to be honest, especially on the back straight before the left-hander.
After the Chicago box, yes.
That straight had enough room to accelerate, like, to make me scared. Especially the first few runs.
Yeah.
I couldn't
stay in it as long as you could have.
Yeah.
Right.
And slowly, like, building up, but still, I'm pretty sure there was room.
Yeah.
Which it sounds like part of it might come from your background, whatever that may be, that for you, having power like that, having a power band like that is not second nature to you.
No.
So I think that's a lot of it. And I think that given time, you would totally adjust to that, just like anything.
Yeah.
You know, just like he may adjust to lack of power, for example. If you throw him in a car with half the power, and I think that's part of it. You know, I've driven cars that had pretty decent power at points in time, so for me, I liked it. You know, I figure if I'm having an issue with it, I can always get out of the throttle.
Yeah.
But the last thing I want is to be all the way in the throttle wishing I had more.
But it does, it gets you like a scary amount of speed. And that's actually another thing we're going to say. That's a turbo car. There's virtually no lag at all. I mean, it
pulls up
pretty stinking responsive. I mean, anywhere over, I'd have to look at it again, but I feel like anything over about 3,000 RPM, you're fine. There's no weight. I mean, it's ready to go.
Yeah.
It makes good power.
Right.
I mean, it makes
like
power.
usable.
Yes, it's like everywhere on the tack you're making, it's pulling somewhere, and that was one of the more impressive things. Was like
where you're starting to turn up the hill.
Yeah.
From the sharpest corner. It was the only car where you're not thinking, I wish I had some more power.
Yeah, another one of my notes was like, I mean, the lift-off oversteer and lift-off rotation is nuts. I mean, I guarantee you, there's a rear tire off the ground most of the time that you're turning.
Yep.
Because if you come off the throttle all the way, I mean, the back just like starts to walk and it just comes around. I mean, it rotates.
It'll rotate off throttle.
Oh yeah, real well. But one of the things that I actually did notice that I didn't really hugely care for was, especially in the slalom and the transitional areas, there's a weird, like, suddenness to you go over like the dead spot in the center of the steering, and all of a sudden there's this weird, like, floppy feeling where it's sudden. The effort is not even. There's a a sudden shift and change. I don't know if that's an alignment issue or if that's...
It's got to be something like that, because I've noticed that, and it's a recent thing.
Yeah.
It's got to be something to do with those tires that I have on it, or the alignment. Something isn't quite right on that front. It almost like settles into the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, one of the things I noticed, kind of building off of that, is it seemed like that was a bit of a weak point when there's sudden changes of motion as far as what you're experiencing, what it's doing. But what I really did appreciate, one of the strong points I put down was its corner exit. Coming off the turn, opening the steering on the throttle, the power, the sound.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually put down, quote unquote, warble, crack, pop.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it's popping, it's crackling, it's a hooligan. And as you're opening the steering up, I thought it was fantastic. I think the power is actually pulling you out. I mean, you almost can let it open itself up.
Right.
The only thing I didn't really like that much was like when you step on the gas, steering feel kind of weird.
Yes.
I thought it
By
was
weird,
so,
do you mean lots of torque steer?
That's what I thought. He said it's because of differential.
Well, it's the differential. It's a quaife torque sensing differential, and it sends the power to the wheel that's lacking traction, as long as they've both got a little bit of traction. So it kind of it distributes power around from side to side, and it feels weird. It almost like it wants to turn more than you wanted it to at first, until it breaks traction. And then,
And I also kind of noticed, as far as the handling goes, I felt like, especially in the big sweepers, the actual outright mechanical grip is just huge. I mean, it's massive. I mean, that thing's got tons of grip, and I know it's on R1Rs that don't particularly like heat. And I felt like even run after run after run, it didn't really fall off. I mean, it makes do with what it's got.
Well, I did feel like once you run several laps, like start feeling slightly loose.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of greasy feel.
In defense, I watched everyone's runs, and you were like just lighting up the tires coming out of every turn. I mean, it was like there was so much. Like you were doing a burnout coming out of every turn. It was like
I had blast in that car. It was fun. I need to adjust my driving because I've been driving like rear-wheel drive cars, so you need to brake early and make sure you finish braking before you start turning.
Yes.
All those more punctual driving.
You're asking so much of the front tires. Going back to your with the correction and the differential fighting you and stuff. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but my arms were definitely tired after driving the SRT-4 on that turn, because you are wrestling it. If you ever take both hands off the wheel at the same time in that car, it will get you.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. You have to stay on it.
You have to be attentive to everything you're doing.
Yeah.
Now, my takeaways getting out of the car. First thing I thought it was very stable. I felt like the car was still confidence. And then the thing I couldn't shake more than anything else is my hands were physically shaking.
Yeah.
Because I had, that adrenaline dump, that excitement coursing through. I don't know how you guys felt.
It was the only car that I got out of that I really wanted more time with.
Right.
It was,
you didn't feel like you got it all.
Oh, I wanted to stay in that car all day. I mean, because I felt like I was like leaving just a little bit there, and it was begging to get pushed harder.
I felt a similar thing. Like I want to drive that car again. Maybe in different course, different actual autocross settings.
Right.
If we have little more escape zone, because where we have this driving,
there's no room for error.
So we did reserve a little bit to be safe. If we do it in an open parking lot,
we can push out a little bit further.
I can, I would do that.
I better bring an extra pair of tires.
So I think you have a co-drive for next year. For the fun event.
Yeah.
One of my takeaways is it instilled confidence. I felt very confident in driving. I wasn't concerned. I didn't feel like it was going to be the Widowmaker or it was going to bite if I did anything wrong.
Right.
It was a very legitimate, as fast as it was, daily drivable car.
Well, I do daily driving.
It had every amenity you really need.
AC blows cold.
Yeah. I can see it maybe being a little bit rough, because that was one thing I did notice was going around turn 1 into, I guess, turn 2, where there's that slight bump. The pavement's a little rough. Man, you felt like that car was like it was like that thing's stiff.
Now how did that go again? I just want to make sure.
That's with the struts turned up to the highest damping.
that car's stiff, and it's felt like there was very little body room.
Yeah, when you turn up the damper. Now I've got a little bit stiffer springs on it, stiffer sway bars, but when you turn up those dampers, it's intolerable on the street.
I could absolutely see that. Yeah.
I turned down the dampers to maybe a third of the way up for street driving, and it's better. It still rides a little rough.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what you would ask out of the car, if you were to look at what is it that I'd like the car to do better, isn't anything wrong with the car, just be asking for more. Less weight, more power, more grip.
Right.
I think it's the same conundrum you come up with any car. You take more weight out, obviously there's going to be less roll. It's going to be able to stick better. It's going to be able to go better.
Sure.
So I don't think anything that it did poorly was really that bad. I don't think I came away thinking that anything
was inherently bad.
Was that poor.
I mean, I like that car a lot. I don't, that was... as of this point, that's the first car we've got down for review, so it's hard to say where it stacks up with everything else, but
more than expected.
Yeah. Right. I mean, starting strong. That's the first car we're gonna do.
But more than anything, it obviously evokes a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
And if you're passionate about cars, it's something you don't know it. You just experience it. You don't have to necessarily describe, there's not a checklist for what makes you happy, what makes you smile, but it evokes a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
You can't get out of that car and not smile or not be happy unless you're just Satan.
Yeah. And I think that there's a certain stigma that is attached to an SRT-4, a lot of domestic front-wheel drive cars, unfortunately, especially amongst people that like imports a lot.
Right.
And that's one of the things I love about that car is because it just absolutely shames a lot of better handling cars. It is just brutal how quick it is and how good it just handles, and it responds, and its nature is fantastic. But yeah, no, like he said, it evokes emotion. It's like driving a cartoon of a car. I mean, it's probably one of the most, as far as an automotive experience goes, it's got to be up there on like the more auditory experiences you can have.
Oh yeah, all the noises.
The intake exhaust and everything, just all the time, burbling and popping and blowing
and whooshing.
Yes, it's a hell of a lot of fun.
Well, talking about noise, I need to mention that our opening video. That was when our camera fell off from the car and just left on the track and. We just happened to have really good sound off of that car.
Pointing at the track.
Yeah, throwing a camera at the car.
I don't know what that means, but it knocked the camera off.
Yeah, so how much torque it's got.
The way I always thought of that neon, I always thought that neon is, it may not be the prettiest, it may not do things as well or as elegantly as other things, but you're going to have a hell of a good time when you're doing it.
Yeah. And it does it cheap, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've driven that car before, but it legitimately kind of exceeded, I think, every expectation I had. It was very, very, very well put together.